All right, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to another scene on the living world of darkness rage across New York. We're setting scene in the Sept of the Green, in the Tellurian, and once more at the Rock. The ever reliable Rock, complete with the leaning wormfo board. And Endpoint is still set atop the rock. A blanket has been stretched out across it. We never ask where the blanket comes from. Never ask where it comes from. But yeah, she is perched up there, just doing her thing. Currently holding in one hand a life-sized clay sculpture that is working on being a raven, and has a tool in her other hand that she is using to pick through the clay, picking out bits and bits and bits as she slowly gives shape to the hackles of the raven, which is obviously meant to be in kind of a bridling, menacing posture, as much so as a raven ever makes such a posture, but definitely a more aggressive, like open beaked, cawing pose. And so she has nested efficiently up there. Big old wad of clay next to her on top of the rock. And is just casually picking out bits, defining the hackles, and each time she picks out a small little booger of clay, taking the tool, sliding it down beside her, wiping it off onto the larger wad of clay. After all, waste not, what not. You there, buddy? You're still muted.
Yep. No, I'm just waiting for you to finish. So, on in another little corner of the sept, the newcomer, Snowflake, just walks around because he gave the sept a good look from the Umbra side, and thinks it might be time to let's take a look at it from the Tellurian side. See who he bumps into. And he makes his way to the rock. Um, and sees 10 point. And trying not to like disturb or alarm her, he just makes his presence known by like he uh, presses his feet firmly on the ground, like making a bit of noise, not to disturb her, but to make his presence known. And yeah, once he's like few feet, uh, few feet away from the rock, he just flops.
Indeed. 10 point is perhaps relatively focused, but not oblivious. Though considered that he is making such a point of making heavy footfalls, she'll certainly glance up as he comes into view. Though doesn't necessarily spare an undue amount of attention, as plenty of people walk past the rock as they go about their days, and she doesn't expect every single one of them to pause to flop over for her. So she perhaps, glances up, so, kind of makes the mental note of, oh, it's that guy, and is still idly picking at the clay icon until such a time as he, makes a more proper, direct approach and flops himself down. At which point she will, for all intents and purposes, pretty much shiv the larger wad of clay with the tool, gingerly setting down the uh, the icon of the raven, draping a damp cloth over it, and dusts her hands as she looks over before making a gesture, assuming he's looking even remotely her way, for him to go ahead and get back to his feet.
He gets back to his feet pretty nimbly. Uh, and He says, "Good day, Rat."
Good evening, Henri. What can I do for you?
Nothing specific. It's always nice to see someone crafting.
She adopts a mild tilt of head. Is it?
Tis back home. Then mother taught me a bit of a craft, some might say. It's, cloth is more my area.
Maybe a vague puzzled look. Cloth?
No, the back home, former dead mother taught me how to sew.
And there may be a mild quirk of the brow, but not truly judgmental, just kind of like, huh, go figure sort of expression. And she gives a shrug and finally offers an idle pat to the rock upon which she sits in case he should feel the desire to join her.
And
Well and good. Better to have busy hands.
seeing this somewhat unexpected invitation, he like cocks his head and like takes a second to get the hint. And he says, just like points with his finger at him, at the rock, at like trying to just say, may I join you?
And yeah, she'll pat and perhaps flick off that damp piece of fabric again, and then glance down, realizing that he is having a conundrum down there. And this time more broadly makes the gesture. If you like. He likes the company. He gives an idle pat to the top of the rock before snagging up the clay tool again.
Yeah, well, Snowflake's gonna scratch his head a bit. Then it's gonna just come to him. Ah, she's a theurge. That rock might be a spirit. Uh-huh.
She's a theurge and they're crazy. Really.
Yeah, but he had theurges back home, so he knows like they're weird but useful and generally nice. So yeah, he takes a few steps back, takes a bit of a running start. And do you want me to roll for it, just for dramatic effect, or just
If you like.
Okay.
It probably means I should actually like do a scene opening closey thing.
And I should open up W20 just so, because I didn't take the time to actually do the write up for my merits and flaws.
There you go. Now it is set up in the die roller.
Yeah. Yeah, so Tix Athletics, which is time is 2 successes. Thanks to perfect balance. So yeah, he takes a bit of a running start and just like puts a hand on the rock, like and another one like grabs on and like pulls himself up. Not as gracefully as he wanted to, but he's up.
All the same, he has scurried up the side of the rock. And we'll find that situated up there is far more than what is readily visible from the ground. There is, in fact, the blanket strewn over the top of the rock, which is more than big enough to hold the two of them and probably several more people. But near about her are at least two more forms of what are clearly ravens that have yet to be detailed. There's the big wad of clay at her side. There's a large bowl of water with a piece of fabric probably just flicked into it, soaking in it. An array of clay working tools, etc., etc. But yeah, all in all, she's got quite the little workstation going on up here.
Snowflake like looks around, taking note of all the various tools and whatnot she has there.
Yeah, interestingly, these are not like there are tools that are particularly for use with clay. These are not those. They're more for etching and scratching, not necessarily for carving and smoothing. Most of that she is doing very carefully with the pads of her fingers after soaking them in the water. And while she can use them to pick out bits, it's obviously a little more of a process because there aren't the looped pieces that are usually used to like kind of carve away sections of clay. So while they are certainly functional for the purpose, they are not ideal for the purpose.
Well, the player knows this. The character is completely unaware, so he just like marvels at these little tools that she uses. It's all new to him.
And what have you been taught? You said you were brought up in a bone narset.
Yeah, I was brought up in Hyde Park in London, in the sept of the silver rubbish bin. Even though it was technically a bone narset, we had a lot of glass walkers around. Our tail singer was a glass walker. What was that? I didn't get it, sorry.
She just kind of says, seems fairly par for the course for city seps.
She just like gives her a bit of a confused nod because never gave thought to this. I think.
Sorry, what did he say?
He says, I think. I think it suits it.
Bonars and glasswalkers are most suited to city life. It only makes sense that they would gravitate to seps that facilitate that kind of lifestyle.
We had other tribes around too, but Bonars and the glasswalkers were the majority.
And there's again just that kind of matter of course little nod, like, yeah, that checks out.
I spent the last few days wandering around the sept, and both on this side and on the other. It's very interesting. We had spirits back home on the other side, but different somehow.
It's to be expected. You were in a place that was very, very far from here. The local spirits would be more suited to the local plants, animals, ideas. And of course to the totem for the sept.
So I think that due to the fact that had electricity back home and Wi-Fi and whatnot, that should leave a mark, probably.
There's a quirk of the brow. What was the subtotem?
Uh, Out of character, I didn't get that far, but yeah, he's probably gonna say something
Insert
from
answer here.
yeah, insert answer here from most likely either it's gonna be rat's brood since it's a bone or sept.
There's still just a bit of a purse of lips. So were weaver spirits more common to your sept?
I think so. Nobody ever taught me how to tell them apart.
Spiders, generally.
Yeah, we had a lot of those. Some weird
Again, there's a
little
concerned
metal
little
things.
brown knit.
Some weird little metal things. Some little sparks here and there.
It sounds like your sept was far closer to the weaver than we.
Had a lot more glasswalkers than I've seen here. I don't know. Are there a lot of glasswalkers around?
There is a contingent, but not many that you will see frequently. There's Cammy, who is in and out of the sept. There is Under the Bridge, who was fairly easy to find and remark on, but most of the rest keep to the city proper.
So this was the city proper.
The brows pop, and she'll kind of glance around them. We do our best to keep the park free of extensive weaver, worm, or wild influence. It is a place that is meant to be of Gaia. There's no need to go tipping the scales. Besides, they have plenty of territory beyond the border. She kind of jerks her nose up towards the edge of, like, just the nearest edge of the park. Where, of course, there is perhaps not a skyline this late, but certainly a number of bright lights from the city.
Our elders back home thought it's a better idea to have human, and he makes air quotes, human levels of comfort around the sept. So had electricity and Wi-Fi and stuff like that. To be honest, our theaters worked a lot on us not getting tainted, but still it was fun.
There's a vague gesture off to the closest light post. While we do not live on the sept in a way where we need electricity per se, it is here. And I am sure there's Wi-Fi, though I kind of shakes her head. Don't especially know how all that works. But if nothing else, the humans who call this place a regular stop don't seem to have any issue. And as far as human comforts go, most of us live beyond the Seps line, where we have whatever we wish to have.
Mm-hmm. Are there many of us around?
Us? No. No, just me, and now you. There were others, not so long ago. But our lives are generally even shorter than that of the average guru.
He gives you like this completely confused look. How so?
And this time she finally kind of pauses what she's doing, lowering the little raven so that her hand cradling it rests in her lap and looking him up and down properly as he seemed puzzled. Right. Bone Narset. Very well, and she'll set the piece aside again, drawing the cloth out of the bowl, wringing out as much of the water as she can before draping it loosely over the clay piece so that it won't dry, so she can keep working it later. And puts another over the wad of clay to her side. How much have you been taught about what you are and what it means?
I know that my birth wasn't a good thing.
No.
I know that my mother, and he kind of takes a while because it's obviously not a comfortable subject to bring up. Um, my mother died when I was born. She survived her wounds long enough to give me a name. And my father returned back to his old sept. And the rumors say he was executed for this.
Was it a more traditional sept? Then yes, probably.
He was from the north. He was of he looks at her up and down, just like thinking whether he should say this or not.
She looks expectant for what that's worth.
He was of your tribe. He just like shoots the last two words like right out of his mouth.
And there is some small reaction, but certainly probably not the fury that he might have worried about or expected. It's just affirming of her lips into a line, but there's little sense in denying what is very possibly, and in fact quite probably true. Then dead, yes. Almost certainly. This is the price of breaking the litany. This is the price of creating menace.
He would have been fine if he stuck to my sept. But from what I heard, he wanted to return home.
I'm sure he knew what awaited him. It reflects well on him that he knew enough to hold himself accountable and pay for the price for the crime that he committed. At least in that, he was honorable, I imagine.
There's a look of not exactly anger, but like it's a mixture of anger, concern, and disagreement on his face, but he doesn't say anything.
For what it's worth, she is saying this all very matter-of-factly. Not as if she is angry with his parents. She didn't know them. She can't hold them responsible, and they've already paid for their crimes. But it is just very, very matter-of-fact. Have you been taught so little that this makes you angry?
I have been taught that making metis is a breach of the litany.
It is a breach of the very first tenet of the litany, the first that every guru is taught. To make a metis, one knowingly breaks it. To make a metis, one is either selfish or tempted by the worm. They pay for their mistake with their lives. It is what is done. And we pay for taking the lives long past the time that the sin is committed. And she just goes back to picking up the next piece, eyeballing it. Still, again, saying all of this very casually, very matter-of-factly, not harshly, not sharply, just as if this is simply so.
See no reason in executing a Garu for a moment of weakness.
You understand the purpose of the litany.
Understand its purpose. It's just that I've been taught that the tenants, though they must be respected, do not necessarily bring with them a type of punishment. I see the need for punishment for the parents of Metis. I see no reason why it should be death. There's few of
You think
us.
the father deserves to suffer less than the mother?
No, I think it's a waste of Garu life. There's so few of us now.
Any guru who would breach the litany once would probably do so again, and there's no guarantee that it would be the same crime. Even if it were, it is a waste. Your father and mother were either tempted by the worm or so selfish that they disregarded the litany. These are the fledgling steps to falling. On top of that, there was a period of time that your mother could not fight, could not aid her sept, was stuck in our breed form, just to carry you to term. She was removed from the battlefield to carry you. And then she suffered a death that no guru should be forced to suffer. And while she bore you, there are many children that she can no longer ever bear because of your existence. These are not kind truths, but they are truths.
You see him like trying to hold back and like gritting his teeth a bit. Cause yeah, you kind of pointed some fingers and he's not happy about it. I don't know if it's enough to like roll something.
You can take a rage if you like.
I'm gonna.
Is it personal and digging enough that it would force him to take a point of rage? Is this something he would feel very sensitive or very angry about?
Most likely.
Well then, I imagine that takes you to at least 5 rage, so would you like to spend a willpower?
That doesn't take me to 5 rage.
Oh, does it not? I thought you were a Galliard.
No, I'm a Ragabash.
Oh, thank God.
Takes me to 2 rage.
Oh, well then you're fucking fine, sir. Take the rage.
Yeah, so he's gonna take a rage. And you see him like trying to stop his teeth from gritting and like gathering himself to still be respectful. And says, my mother was a philodox. She did her duty to her sept till the day I was born, and did not shy away from her duties We are not attacked so often. And our defenses are many. There was little need to fight back home.
There's always a need to fight. If the worm is not close, then you seek it out. I know these things sound harsh, but they will sound far harsher coming from others besides myself. And whether they are kind or not, they are facts.
Still, even though making metis should be something hardly encouraged, and that on this we agree on, that it should be severely punished. Death is a far greater punishment.
You appreciate that when your father decided to do this, he in essence killed your mother.
Yet, from what I've heard, there are mothers that survive giving birth to metis.
Not frequently. Not nearly enough to make it worth the risk. Perhaps in a sept that is very, very accepting, there might be those who would stand by and aid her or heal her. But it is rare. You say there are too few of us to reject metis. There are too few of us to accept the sowing of metis. For every metis that lives, a guru that can breed dies. If we were to look aside or to punish lightly, they would continue to do it and fall to temptation. And soon we would have more and more of us walking the septs who could not continue the lines. And we would die out.
If you say that for every metis, Garo that can breed dies. Why should we execute the father? Is he not able to breed from that moment onward?
The father is still guilty of killing your mother through his actions. Perhaps not directly and immediately, but he has still committed a crime. He has still violated the litany. And one who has done such a thing once is just as capable of doing it again. If you do not enforce the rules will never be upheld.
I'd be willing to bet that this is not the only side of the litany that some septs choose to take more lightly.
Takes on more of a studying expression, looking on him.
I've heard stories about other Garu and other septs. Garu that care little to those of lower station. Garu that challenge their leaders during a time of war. Garu that do not accept honorable surrenders.
Then thank your lucky stars that you are not in such a sept.
And still, my parents had their own crimes. They paid for them. However, their elders saw fit. The mother was tended to during childbirth. She was healed, but the wounds overcame her. There was much sadness in her sept when she died. She was well loved, despite of her crime.
I am sure she is not the first, nor will be the last Garu that falls that was loved. Whatever the reason for the fall.
Still, I see no reason why I should burden my shoulders with their crime. I am here to learn, and I will learn. And I'll better myself, and I will fight for Gaia, as any Garu should. I should be held accountable for my own deeds, not for the deeds of my forefathers. And you see him like, you can see he's visibly calmed down. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of rage coming off the guy. He's pretty chill. He's a ragabash. They're pretty lighthearted.
And she gives her head an idle bit of a shake, more to herself than to him, and bows over the next of the raven sculptures, gesturing off into the direction of the sept. Then go and listen and learn from those you are willing to heed.
I'm willing to heed all of those I speak to, regardless of their tribe or their rank or their birth moon. And he looks at you a bit and just stresses this last word, or their breed.
You have a lot left to learn. I imagine your awakening will be a rude one. You are fortunate to have grown up in a tolerant place, but not all places are so tolerant. If you are wise, you will not travel overseas. Not back to the old septs. Not back to the traditional septs.
That I come from overseas, and my sept is old.
But it is not by any means traditional, if this is the attitude with which you come here. If this is the stance you take. You've been coddled.
She doesn't say anything, just looks at 10 Point while she works.
I should have thought that if they treasured you so much to let you go on believing these things, they would have treasured you enough to teach you. Enough to get by.
Don't understand, Raya.
The nation is not a kind place to those of us who are misborn, Onrai. We're very fortunate that you came here. And she doesn't
Sure.
explain any further.
Sure that if the nation had no need for us, that they would have killed us at the moment of our birth or cast us out.
There are those that do.
And there are many like us who live their lives like any other Karo.
No, not like any other Garu, but we do live.
I have met Metis who have gained rank, have gained positions that are respected.
And they worked thrice as hard for that recognition and those positions.
Then I shall work 4 times as hard. He gives you a bit of a cocky smile.
I should be pleased to see it, Onrai.
He looks out at the distance and looks at the surrounding area and says, "The sept is very beautiful on both sides. The velvet shadow.
It is.
Guessing whoever the keeper of the land is around the sept must be a martyr."
She casts him the most blatant side eye. After all, she introduced herself title and all when they met at the side of the sept. So it's the I see your shit look.
Yeah, he gives like the slightest smile, and maybe due to the fact that his skin is so white, and you can't exactly hold off blushing, like he turns like a pinkish shade, and like he knows he said that, like it's a bit of a subtle compliment with a bit of sharp tongue remark.
Yep, he definitely gets the I see your shit look. It's the like it's essentially the same as the I see your hand in the cookie jar look, really.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It's just the I see your shit. She doesn't comment, but she throws him the most ridiculous side eye.
He knows what he's done. Like this was
Perhaps that
intentional.
is why she doesn't comment. He knows what he did. She knows that he knows what he did. There's another little, mock disapproving head shake. Not actually as severe as prior ones, because well, after all, she does do a good job.
Subtle.
Very cute. I suggest being a little more careful with your words and your stances when you meet the higher ranking of the local Ragabash. My Rye will not find your antics nearly as endearing as I do. Which is a kind of a loaded statement, considering she hasn't necessarily found them, but so endearing herself.
Ragabashes are meant to be light-hearted.
Are they? At this point, she finally looks up, like, "Oh, really?"
At least this is what I was taught.
You must be waxing. My alpha is waning.
Looks a bit confused at that. Still.
Are you familiar with the difference in auspice between waxing and waning?
No, to be honest. Just thought we are born in an auspice and that's our duty.
There are. It is not so simple as a single duty. There is a great many things that a Ragabash might be. A Ragabash might be a jokester who keeps people at ease with their antics. A Ragabash might be an advisor who teases the truth out of things, teases thought with questions. A Ragabash might be a scout, keeps himself shrouded in darkness, reports back to the rest of his pack. A Ragabash might be a very, very brutally dangerous assassin. And whether the moon was waxing or waning in the moment of your birth tends to provide some insight into which you may be. A waxing Ragabash born after the moment of the new moon tend to be more lighthearted, tend to be more carefree, tend to provide a service but do their duties with a smile. Those born in the moments just before, in the moments where it is waning, they are far sharper of tongue, far more quick with tooth or claw, far more brutal. The same can be said of any auspice. It is a telling thing to find out whether a guru's auspice is waxing or waning.
I did not know that, Raya. Thank you.
There's a faint smile and a nod.
Guess I might be waxing then.
I should think so.
Usually prefer a shave, but waxing it is then. As he tries to crack a little joke.
I should prefer what?
He says, I usually prefer shaving, but if I have to, waxing it is.
Oh, Lord, yeah, there's just the head shake of like, oh no. Oh God, you are the jokey type. Like the little, oh God, head shake. Not sincere, just the long-suffering little head shake. Certainly waxing. But perhaps something that Sept is in dire need of. We have too few Ragabash as it is. Here's hoping that you do your duties well.
There's nothing wrong in smiling from time to time.
No, there's not. Refusing to let yourself have any joy in life leaves you without something to fight for.
In the short time since my first change, I've seen some grow bitter because of their duties.
We must do our best to cherish life with every breath, Henri.
Like just takes in a deep, deep breath that when she says this, she's like,
She does her best to maintain a disapproving expression. There's a little struggle there. But it's definitely that I will not smile. You're being a dork. Oh, you are a world of trouble.
gives it a bit of a smile and a nod. Happy to be of service.
Oh, good luck to you, Henri. You are going to need it. I do not think the Den Father will be a big fan of your antics.
Tailor my speech to whoever I'm speaking. I know the lupuses lack humor.
I wouldn't say lack, but it is certainly of a different strain than anything a human born might appreciate.
Then maybe this is my advantage for being born the way I am.
As much as anyone can have an advantage, I imagine. It is a very different mode of thought. We'll see how well you play to your audience.
Like gives you a bit of a confused look. Audience.
The one to whom you are speaking.
There's a bit of a relief look.
Either you will learn or you will come stumbling out with bite marks. I imagine you will survive either way.
Got my fair share of beatings. Got my fair share of laughs too.
We shall see. You're lucky that this place is very light-hearted. There are those who are strict. The warder among them. Your den father among them.
Is it not their duty to be strict?
Oh, certainly. Oh boy. This is happening. It is just that. Come on, you can do it. Beloved watchers, we are waiting for another to join this already ridiculous scene. Ta-da! And then it happens. So for the sake of setting scene, good man, presuming you are not already creeping, we are on the rock, where 10 Point is trying very hard to look disapproving and to keep sculpting. Not necessarily succeeding, but trying very hard to look disapproving.
It's okay. It's a little better. Colin and his picnic basket of assorted consumable goods. See what you did over there. Is coming through this part of the sept after a hard day's night of walking in circles. He takes one of the things out of the basket and starts eating them. It is a scone. Your keen Gru senses, because I don't think either of you have anosmia, tell you it's a blueberry scone. Of roughly medium quality. He approaches 10 Point and offers her a different scone. Doesn't seem blueberry, but you'd have to bite into it to find out.
On the other hand, it has the advantage of not being pre-nommed. So yeah, as Colin wanders up to the rock, she'll lean down and accept this mystery scone, this scone of mystery. What manner of scone could it possibly be? She will, in fact, lift it up, give it an experimental sniff out of curiosity, and give it a bite to see what the hell she's been handed.
The joke's on you, it's raspberry.
Joke's on you. 10 Point's fine with raspberry. And her eyebrows kind of pop up. Her head tilts a little bit like, huh, how about that? And yeah, now she has a scone. Win-win.
Snowflake looks confused at this whole presenting of the scone. And he looks at 10 Point and at Colin, then at 10 Point, and like, he doesn't know exactly what to do here, so just for security's sake, he just like slides very nimbly down from the rock and looks at Colin and says, Snowflake, Metis born, Ragabash, cub. And then he just like instantly flops.
There's a couple moments there where Colin just kind of watches this happen.
10 Point's eyebrows have lofted ever so slightly, especially at the pause after he says his name. But as he continues, there's a vague nod of approval, and she goes back to focusing on this scone, which is delicious.
I'm called Colin Edwards. A Hamid-born Arun Cleef of the Children of Gaia. Recently deeded. He closes his eyes just for a second. Adeptus Astartes. Just lets that one pass.
And Guardian to the Sept of the Green goes back to chewing.
And Colin looks over at 10 Point. Where's Jason?
Home, probably, if he's not patrolling. Why?
Another time then. Tribal matters.
Oh, yeah. Lovely. I'll let him know you're looking for him. Then there's a half moment of kind of a distant look, and then she goes back to nibbling.
This is a new student of yours.
No, he's not mine. Lean over to look at him. He's still flopped on the ground.
Yep. Because no one told him to get up, so...
They come to you anyway.
They do. One after another.
Here. And he gives the cub a scone.
She's like, without getting up, he like extends his hands to grab the scone.
It is received. This one, in a surprise turn of events, is Apple.
He gnaws at it and like eats it in like 2 bites because you, my dear sir, are dealing with an Englishman. Apple pie is close to their heart. Apple scone is a close second.
Just kind of watches this happen.
And like with like little bits of scone around his mouth, says, "Thank you, Raya."
Thanks aren't required for my sort. Providing aid, succor, and, well, occasionally food is an expectation of my totem.
There's a comical half second of buh, and then oh, as 10 Point naturally first thinks of Fox and was like, but oh wait, unicorn. Okay, got it. Nibble, nibble, nibble.
And Colin crouches down. Still hasn't let poor Snowflake up. Just kind of meeting him in the middle here. What stock were you spawned from?
Looks confused at the question. Well, my father was Fianna. My mother was a Black Fury. Out of characters, those 3 dots in purebreed are Black Fury purebreed.
Okay. And he scratches at his beard. I've experienced Pegasus brood from time to time. And the occasional Fianna. He just kind of looks at 10 Point on that one.
Innocent face is innocent.
There's almost like this smile forming on his face because experiencing Fianna and that awkward look between him and 10 Point sent him on a very, very weird mental trail. But he like manages to hold it back.
Colin kind of looks him up and down.
The most obvious thing you notice is that his skin is really white. His hair is completely white and his eyes are like reddish, pinkish, something. In other words, he's as albino as you can get them.
Are we going to inherit self-loathing with you?
Sorry?
There's a mild and completely unhelpful snort from up on the rock.
It's the most common trait I've seen in this wave of cubs. Angst. Self-loathing. A lack of true faith.
Might I suggest trying to give them a scone as well, Raya?
In most cases, it has been corrected. Scratches his beard some more. I am perhaps not the best for this. And he looks up at 10 Point. What say you?
She gives the most inviting of gestures down at the cub and says simply, by all means. Because, let's face it, she is not the most approving of his general mindset and attitude towards the nation, and, well, this should be entertaining. Perhaps Colin will get through to him. Or at least put the fear of God into him. One or the other.
What is it you imagine you'll do with your life, cub?
Looks at you and, like, not even thinking about it, says, serve Gaia.
Colin nods. Good. Looks at 10 Point like, what seems to be the problem here?
Pinpoint is idly shaking her head and back to carving away at one of these little clay ravens. I say little, they're still life-size, so they're in fact quite large comparatively. But nope, she is... she has disengaged as much as humanly possible at the moment from disappointing Babymetis. How dare he have any self-worth?
This is fine. We all serve Gaia. It is our purpose. Just as much as war is. None of us can truly understand the design, but we must have faith.
I agree, Raya.
Colin just kind of has this narrow look. Because he's now kind of... He's had 10 Point doing her 10 Point thing on that rock, but he's got this here. He just looks back at her again like, am I being fucked with today? She is disengaged. She's fucking doing clay things. She's clay mating over there. So looks back down at the cub. At a minimum, you're good at saying what you think people want to hear. That will have to do until it is truth.
That's what I've been taught since I could understand it. I was never proven wrong in my beliefs. It is the Kara's duty to serve Gaia, and that even in our darkest times we should trust her judgments and her will. Why would I think different?
Colin runs a hand through his hair. Many of your contemporaries did not have the benefit of growing up in the nation. Their minds have been clouded with false ways. I have spent the better part of a few months doing my best to reverse the damage. So, you can imagine, this is very refreshing.
We all have our own demons to fight, Naya.
Colin stands back up. Once again, looks 10-point. Zantler, bro.
10-point casts him. Perhaps the most inappropriate little hopeful look. Because let's face it, every time she gets a hold of any of that good shit, she ends up trading it off to Colin and hanging out in his RV.
This will do.
We shall see. Time will tell. At the risk of being the most needy kind of friend, Colin, you perchance have a cigarette on you. He knows damn well that she has cigarettes in her bag, and that is not what she is asking for.
He still pulls out the case. There they are in all their glory. She knows Colin doesn't use a fucking machine to do this.
Are they pot or are they just cigarettes?
Oh, they're the dankest of the Yankee Yank.
The stickiest of the icky. She casts him
Purplest
such...
of the Urple.
Oh my god. She casts him the most adoringly thankful expression. So sweet, so open, so relieved. And we'll end up taking one up.
He hands it off.
She almost immediately lights that bitch like, no, I need this. I need this right now. This has been a day. And we'll in fact take a good hit off of it, get it lit, do that. And then after holding it in for a moment and exhaling, so that she can at least enjoy the buzz for a moment, because unless this is some she gave him, it may not be awakened. She'll nonetheless enjoy it for as long as it stays in her system. For what it is worth, so that you are aware, Mariah and I have both spoken to Jason on the subject of your tribesmate. And I have only just spoken to Jacob, who seems to, for all that they share a pack, have been completely unaware of the situation until now.
I'm in a room. It's not my place to hold judgment. Just the knife.
No, it may not be your place to give judgment, but one cannot help having their own opinions on any given thing that might take place. I'm simply looking to make you aware of who knows what, and who may be acting.
Those I expected.
There's a light shrug. I doubt that Jacob will be able to do much, considering the conflict of interest, but it does do to know that he is at least paying attention to the problem.
Either the truth catcher or perhaps the warder. It depends on who takes responsibility for the final act.
I imagine it will come down to Jason and the truth catcher speaking, and probably the truth catcher passing the final verdict. Whatever it may be.
I haven't seen the Philodox hold the sword in a very long time, though I know what happens.
No, it does. We shall see.
We will. It's troubling.
Very much so.
I had never witnessed a beast of that magnitude.
You were not here for the battle, were you?
No.
It gets worse. But not
Right.
for a long, long time. And hopefully by then we will have some idea of how to fight it. Or those that come after us will.
I was maybe in Indiana at that time. Something happened. I was delayed.
There's a faint nod. These things do happen. Whatever the case, at least for now, we can't kill it. And of course, we all know how well the nation does when we can't kill our problems. Hopefully, by the time she starts extending the boundaries, we'll have a way.
All things die.
Oh, she can die. Physically. I'll let it be known to you as well, since you were not there at the time. If she is killed, she takes the body of her killer and wears it like she's wearing Magda now.
Have the hosts ever killed themselves?
I don't think they can. I don't know how much strength they have while she is wearing them. It's not a bad idea. The problem is that I would have a very hard time making connection with her. Especially without feeling the influence of the thing riding her. I'll be looking for a way. If nothing else, to give her peace.
Suffer not the mutant.
Here's a blink. Mostly because she hears suffer not the worm, usually. But you know what? Seems to make him happy. I'll be doing my best, Colin. And I will probably have to engage the right master in seeking advice on it. Or the Uktena. It is not an easy beast to tackle.
Neither is speaking with the Uktena.
No. No, you're right. I may have a gift that will appease them somewhat, though.
I hold no grudge against them, but they are guarded.
I have no place to hold a grudge. Or to judge their deeds after what we did. In the hellhole. All the same, what we made may work in exchange for some aid in this.
That vile thing should be purged.
I imagine it will be. But in the meantime, it was a solution to the problem at the time, and it is a solution to the problem ahead of me.
It was. What
She'll
do we
take
do now?
She kind of takes a lean, glancing down at Snowflake. How's his expression doing?
Everything you just said just like went way past his head and just, like looking at you and with the expression that says, what do I do now?
For now, and she'll look back over to Colin. I think our focus is on the present threats. She won't leave the hellhole. She can't, I don't think. But she can send the things inside it out. And they may come looking for him, so prepare yourself for that potential inevitability. We still haven't gotten account of the spirals in the area, how many packs there are for sure, who their members are. And more concerningly, the hunters. Killed one. I'll be seeking insight to see if I can learn more about them. But in the meantime, we may eventually go and set a trap, go back to the same house, see if we can invite another attack, and see if we can either take one hostage or deal with more of them. At least this time we will be able to plan ahead, though I imagine they will expect us to be ready.
Heretics and mutants. I look forward to killing them.
There's a nod of agreement. Just so. But for the meantime, I think that is all there is to do. Keep an eye for the spirals, make a note of them, should you run across them and fail to kill them. Keep an eye for the hunters. There's certainly more than one. There are more being made. And keep an eye towards Staten, because sooner or later something's going to come crawling out looking for Simon.
And if a beard could have hackles, beard's a hackling.
God damn it. Then there's a bit of a shrug. She may not be able to come out and get what she wants herself, but that doesn't mean she can't get it one way or another.
Ruin has a way of picking at random. I can't find it in myself to blame him. He was simply there.
Her eyebrows make a mad dash for her hairline. You can't blame him.
No.
He left her in their hands for a month. He took no action, even when prompted, to try to recover her. He left us holding nothing but empty promises and left her to suffer. And even when he finally did go, it was only under the command of the worm foe. If we had left it to him, who knows how long it would have been before anyone found out what had happened to her. How long would you wait if kin who looked to you were taken? To try to find them, to try to recover them?
My family knows what to do when they're captured. 10 point.
You're not always given the choice, all right? But I can assume that if a pulse revealed them as alive, you would not have waited a month.
No. No, I don't imagine I would have.
And then she takes another really, really long, really, really deep hit off of that joint because she clearly needs it. It is a good thing that it is, in fact, the stickiest of the icky. As her expression loosens up the slightest bit, well, it at least briefly goes to her head. And after she exhales the cloud of smoke, she glances down, this time a little bit more apologetically. I'm sorry. It's just already come up once today. The fact that even his alpha didn't know what he was or wasn't doing, what he had promised, rankles me.
I came from a different place.
You did.
Were it my mother or my father, there would be no pulse to find.
All the wiser of them, if tragic, still better than the fate she has.
Always better to die clean.
Yes. As I said, I'll be doing my best to find a way to end her misery. I may not be able to kill the body, but I may be able to try to find a way to release her from it. She's suffered enough. Takes another hit. And for what it's worth, she is well aware that the poor cub is still laying there on the ground, but she's letting him do his ragabash thing and just get a chance to listen and try to kind of see how well he takes in the situation and see how much he learns and processes.
He's just like in this like semi-flopped position, tries to make himself comfortable, and just like looks at whoever's speaking at the moment, like trying to process.
Got the tennis face. He's got it real bad.
This is beyond me.
Yeah. I'll send Jason to you as soon as he's properly awake.
All right.
Go and see Helena.
I will when I can find her.
There's a bit of a smirk. Tell her I expect her to be there to play with me in the morning.
I'll make sure she at least wrote it down.
Confused look from Snowflake at that point.
Nope, she leaves him hanging.
She'll, you know her way. The writing.
Oh, I do.
I'll make sure it was written down.
That at least she doesn't usually forget, though she does misplace the guitar.
I'm well aware of the misplacement of the guitar. The guitar has now been recovered several times. I know where to look.
It should at least be at the RV now. That's where I left her with it.
I know where to look.
She is looking all the more lighthearted, in fact, kind of stifling laughter.
Damn DVD player is still stuck. I think I'm going to go procure a screwdriver while I wait for Jason.
That wouldn't be unwise.
And he picks up his basket. And he begins heading off. Just going, I can't play a damn movie if I take it apart. Can't you, Weaver Tool?
Then she lets him go ahead and meander off with his picnic basket. And once he's gotten out of range, we'll finally gesture Snowflake to stand. I mean, presuming he wants to stand, he might be pretty comfortable down there by now.
No, he like gets up and plunks himself back down because he was getting comfy and the place was getting warm, so might as well.
She, meanwhile, will begin very carefully wrapping up these clay objects. She'll actually take the water and make a point of leaning well off the rock to slosh the contents over the flowers that have been planted around it. And yeah, begins kind of packaging herself up. Two of the clay figures are carefully tucked on top of whatever else is in her bag. The last one is carefully wrapped up in the damp fabric and carried in hand as she goes to slide down off the rock. We'll see how well you do. Have fun figuring out what that was all about. She'll reach down and ruffle his ridiculously pale hair. And begin to go ahead and meander off. Because you know what? What better kind of trying little first test is there than to give the Ragabash just enough to be really curious and then leave him to figure it out. It'll be fun seeing who he sniffs around to get the answers. There is, for what it's worth, a playful smile on her lips when she gives him the ruffle and leaves him to it.
Between what he thinks was making Colin laugh and putting a smile on 10 Point's face, on top of getting information about something Black Spiral Dancers, something Hunters. Yeah. Snowflake isn't wasting any seconds. So he just like gets up and is like, okay, who do I need to bug for this information?
We'll give you this much at least. Real quick, like. Better yet, does he have common sense by chance?
As far as I remember, no, but the visual say, nope. No common sense.
Do me a solid just for lulz and roll your wits. Nope, not giving it to you. She'll leave him to his devices.
And unless you want to add anything else, I believe we can call this a scene.
Yes, indeed we can. So, thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Thank you, Space Marines, for space marining. And we will see you next time on the Living World of Darkness. The Emperor across New York? Question mark?